Hello, everyone, and welcome to WWT Experts. My name is Matthew Coble. I'll be your host today. And today we'll be talking about digital strategy and unified commerce with WWT expert Charlie Lawhorn. As Chief Digital Advisor with WWT, Charlie consults with our clients on complex transformation initiatives that blend thoughtful design and digital technologies together to drive really great business outcomes. He's always looking for those business outcomes in this increasingly data-driven digital world that we all live in. In his career, Charlie's touched on strategy, sales, marketing, experience design, customer success, and doing all that across a wide variety of industry verticals with lots of different brands and companies you would know. And he's usually speaking with senior level contacts at these organizations, and he's often called on both by us and by the marketplace to present his points of view. Delighted to have him here with us today. Charlie, good to see you, man.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
Always a pleasure. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a busy start to the year.
Yeah, but a good start to the year. I'm delighted that we're finally moving into spring and summer. I'm a warm weather guy.
Especially in the Midwest.
And especially in the Midwest. All right. Well, listen, to start out, I wonder if you'd tell us about the challenges that you're seeing brands face today, when they're thinking about kind of fresh customer experiences overall.
Holy cow. Where do you start? It's a big question. So experiences are really just across the board, depending on the industry that we're in right now. As we're kind of coming out of COVID in most places around the world, what we're seeing is people spent a lot of time attracting new customers, creating new channels, creating new ways for customers to engage. And as we started, kind of moving away from the rush to solve all these things for COVID, we're seeing a tremendous amount of effort in people now trying to clean up all of those channels and trying to build better experiences because they're fairly fragmented. People threw a lot of different technology in the mix, and they spent a lot of money rushing to deploy things, and now they're trying to analyze what should they keep, what experiences are good, what experiences will customers continue to use, and sometimes which ones won't they? And so we're spending a lot of time consolidating experiences back. We're seeing it in retail, in healthcare, in telcos, even in government organizations. And so a lot of time spent cleaning up the aftermath.
Yeah, well, and I want to build on that a little bit. I know another important part of it is the employee experience is equally important to drive a great customer experience, right? So I know you're spending time talking about that too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the places where, from an employee's perspective, all of these new channels, all of these new technologies created just more touch points, more interactions where they have to cross different systems or different platforms to provide a better experience for customers. I'll give you a real example. In the fast food space, during COVID, everybody had to rush to launch for pickup services, curbside services, delivery services. Well, walk into pretty much any fast food restaurant and you're gonna see 4, 5, 6 Android or Apple devices, each one with a different user interface sending in orders. Those associates are then having to—
DoorDash, you got your Uber Eats, you got all these different systems coming in, and some of our own homegrown systems too,
and those guys and gals behind the counter are having to play like air traffic control with all of these orders coming in. And so they're then having to take all of those orders and rekey them into the kitchen, the point of sale, so the kitchen knows what to order. Then they're having to provide updates back into all of those different tablets so that you, sitting at home, know where your food is. That's not a sustainable experience. It's not good for those 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who are now keyboarders and typing in a restaurant.
Right. I mean, I love that I can, place that order from my phone and go pick something up, but I also appreciate a lot has to work from a digital standpoint to make that happen, right?
And as you think about it, companies have struggled to retain talent, retail, restaurant, hospitality. Part of it is the burnout of just the stress of the environment. Part of it is the struggle of all of these new channels, all of these new technologies, and trying to keep up with all of these disparate experiences that they're interacting with.
Yeah. Well, so this, sounds in part like omnichannel, right? Which I know is a concept that we've been speaking around digital for years. But, tell us about how omnichannel and the idea of unified commerce fit together.
So from an omnichannel perspective, to me, omnichannel is about customers or people can interact with my company through any channel they desire. Chat, SMS, websites, in-person, call center, whatever that might be. Omnichannel is about creating a good experience for each one of those channels, fairly consistent across channels. That's great, but what happens when my inquiry, my order, whatever I'm talking to your company about, what happens when I started on this channel but want to pick it up on the next channel? What happens when I start a chat on your website, but it gets a little bit technical and so I want to call in and talk to a person? What happens when I buy something in store but want to return it online? So those disconnects, omnichannel gave everybody the ability to connect through whatever channel they wanted, but now customers are trying to take it further, even employees trying to take it further of, I want to start my discussion with you here and finish it over here. And I think, to me, unified commerce, I actually want to remove the word commerce from that, because it's really about unified experiences and seamless experiences across all of those channels that you've developed.
Yeah. Well, if we do, so I totally respect that and agree that it's really just unifying all those the digital and physical experiences. But with unified commerce, I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about really pragmatically in an organization's technology infrastructure, and then the experiences that deliver. What do we define unified commerce as? What does that really mean? I said, an e-commerce engine that goes a lot of places, multiple pieces come. Tell us about that.
Yeah, specifically from a commerce perspective, think of it this way. If I'm a grocery store and you have mobile app, or I have mobile apps and I have a website and I have self-checkout in the store, well, I really just want one app. Maybe I want to start my shopping list in the app, and then I want to walk in the store and be able to scan that shopping list and just check out, frictionless checkout. Or I want to start in the store, but the store doesn't have some of the products that I want. So I want to go into the app and add some other items that can be shipped to my house, right? Thinking about that seamlessness requires, one single cart, one single checkout, one single set of systems behind the scenes, regardless of how I'm interacting. And so it's changing things like loyalty programs. I want loyalty regardless of whatever channel I use. I don't want loyalty to work, in one channel. I need it to work in all. And a lot of our customers, as they launch things like DoorDash and Uber Eats, there's no loyalty associated with that. Mm-hmm. How do I still have those services for my customers and the technologies to support it, but not make the customer feel like they're dealing with different companies or different carts or checkout processes?
Right, because who really owns that customer relationship at that point? And I think fundamentally, the core brand wants to do that and really own that, but when you bring in some of these third-party players, that starts to fragment a little bit and diminishes your sense of your own kind of brand in that market.
It has. It's changed it a lot. And, sometimes a retailer, for example, continuing on with the grocery example, they don't know who the customer is that's placing the order. And it's also caused some rough experiences in their stores sometimes, because now you have, pick an Instacart shopper who's actually not a shopper, they're a buyer. They have your list, they're walking through the store, and they're trying to fulfill that list. Mm-hmm. They're also typically gig economy workers that don't hang out with a lot of other friends at the workplace, so they congregate in the middle of the aisles. You'll get 3 or 4 Instacart shoppers, buyers, hanging out and just chatting. How's your day? What's going on? Because they only interact with the device. And so that's actually causing a rough experience for the actual shoppers in the store, the ones the retailers want there. They want to upsell you. They want to cross-sell you. They want you to get their store brand cookies, right?
Yeah.
Those buyers for Instacart don't make those decisions and choices. They're not persuaded by promotions. So it's causing some friction where the shoppers don't like the collection of people in the aisles. They want to get those buyers in and out of their stores as quickly as they can so the shoppers can hang out and pick up some candy on their way out.
Right, yeah, because as a shopper, and you want to attract me to come back to the store more often because I'm going to buy more stuff, right? I mean, I never shop just, based on my list. There's a couple extra things that always make the cart, right?
That's how it works. I mean, welcome to merchandising and marketing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, can you give us, I'm curious if you give us some specific examples, either brands, you've spoken some about retail, maybe there's some other verticals too that, really have done a good job of unified commerce and really have that locked down and in place. And then the flip side is like, what are the risks if you don't?
Gosh, there's a lot there. I think we've seen, like telcos, for example, not notoriously known for great customer service necessarily, but if I pick mine, I won't go into the brand name because that's a whole different discussion. The carrier that I use actually for my mobile device actually has really good unified commerce. I can check my service plans. I can go into a mobile app and start discussions and walk into a store and finish those discussions. I can order a device and pick up in store very easily. I think the telcos have actually started doing a really good job from a unified commerce perspective. I'll pick an apparel brand that my wife favors as an example that's not so great. She got an awesome sweatshirt for Christmas. Wasn't the right size. I won't say whether it's too big or small.
You better not.
And she had to go back to the retail store to return it. The associate at the retail store said, no, that was an online order. We'll take it from you and we'll ship it back. And she's sitting there saying, but okay, that's cool. Can I get the money back for that shirt? Well, no, you'll get a credit back as it's received at our warehouse somewhere 4 to 6 weeks from now. And she's saying, but you're the same store. Right. You're the same brand.
It's the same logo on your shirt.
Why do I have to wait for a month to get my money back just because somebody bought it here versus there? That's a great example of a rough experience. Even though it's a premium brand, it's a rough experience. And explaining that to people is, I can only imagine being a store associate, thinking about the customer side, the employee experience. How many times do you think people get angry with the store associate over a policy or a technical challenge that isn't their fault?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to back up a little bit. We talked a little bit earlier about the employee experience, and I'm thinking about unified commerce, omnichannel, but as you talk with a client to help them really think through how to get the employee experience right, what kind of work do they need to do? How do they go about the process of defining that and then going on to implement it?
I think from our team's perspective, we spend a lot of time just on journey mapping. Thinking about the process, the flows. What goes into a person's mind as they're starting to make a decision to interact with that brand, all the way through to what does post-interaction follow-up look like. And so really building out those visual journey maps, those friction points, understanding a day in the life of a customer or an employee or a patient is huge in solving for this, because I think too many times companies try to solve around the technologies they have. They kind of need to abstract themselves from the technology discussion for a minute and say, what would a really good experience look like? And I think to do that, Matt, putting yourselves in the shoes of a customer, of an associate, of a patient, actually go through that process yourself. See how it is. If that retail example I gave around the shirt, if an executive bought a shirt and tried to return it, I guarantee you they wouldn't enjoy that experience, and they wouldn't enjoy how that experience impacts their brand. And so I think getting in the shoes of those different personas, those different roles, and understanding that, or working with a partner like us or someone else to document what those flows and processes are is really, really important. Because once you solve for the flow, then the technologies start presenting themselves as to which ones make sense to solve the gaps.
Yeah, well, that's really the secret, right? It's been, as in my own consulting days, it was surprising how often teams didn't go talk to the audience, right? Who are your customers? Who are the employees that are doing this? Go spend some time with them. Go walk a mile in their shoes and
or be one.
Or be one for a bit.
Be one. Check into your own hospital.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Yeah. Well, and that leads me to, we've talked more about retail, but I'm curious your point of view around, I imagine that this applies very well in retail, but it can touch healthcare, financial services, automotive, hospitality. What are some ways that you're seeing that affect various industry verticals? And who do you think are kind of doing good jobs in some of those other verticals that we should keep an eye on?
So, I've talked about healthcare and retail quite a bit because those were two during COVID that were directly impacted.
Sure.
But I'll pick the insurance industry. when you call in to make a claim, you may start on the site, you may start with a chat bot that may lead you to an actual live chat, that may lead you to talk to a person or even your agent. Well, that agent, when they pick up the phone, shouldn't they know what those questions or those interactions have been before? Wouldn't it make sense to not have to start over? I'm going through that process right now. I travel a lot, and I'm a member of one of the travel expedited services at the airport. I won't name it. Mm-hmm. Well, they had me scan my Real ID recently to prove, they changed everybody to Real IDs, and that's part of the whole TSA structure. When they did that, they have a glitch in their system. It created another version of me.
Oh, your doppelganger.
It's awful. Like the world only needs one of me. But that system has two of me. So every time I go to the airport right now, I get a random.
Have to go twice?
No, not twice. I get a random ID check.
Oh man.
I've had it 9 times in a row. Not quite random if it happens 9 times in a row. So I had to go back to that organization and actually have myself deleted twice from the system and sign up as a new customer.
Just to clear that out.
And every time I interacted with them, awesome service, great people, but I started the discussion over. They have my phone number. They know it's me calling with caller ID. Why doesn't it just pop up and say, this is his 9th time calling us?
Yeah. Here's where we are in the conversation. Continue from this point forward.
Amazing associates. They actually pick up the phone. Everything's great, except I'm starting over fresh every time.
Yeah.
That's a real example of some of the struggles that are out there. So I picked on insurance, continued conversation, service areas like that. Even in the government, I'll continue on the travel. It's time to renew my passport. It's actually gotten a lot easier. I can start that process online. Mm-hmm. I can go in and finish the process in person, or I can just digitally finish and mail the pieces I need in and wait. So they've really started to make that more seamless. If you need new photos, then you still have to kind of go somewhere to get that, but you can solve more and more of that online. So government services have started doing that with registration of vehicles or license renewals where you can start and finish in branch or online. So just really, that's why I say it is about commerce in the end, but it really is just about seamless experiences for customers and not making them start over because they choose to pick up on a new channel.
Yeah. Well, I want to go off script just a little bit here and ask you to think about, the conversations you have with clients about this stuff. And I imagine most people today are kind of moving forward with, unified commerce, omnichannel, and so forth. But they're at various levels of maturity. So where I'm going is like, what are those conversations like? Are there sort of key things that you're looking for to get people started in that conversation, assess where they are, or do you have like tips for like, look, to really do this well, you need to think of these 3 things, something like that. Like, how do you approach those kinds of conversations?
It's funny, very few people come to us and say, solve for a unified commerce or a unified experience. It usually starts with a business level challenge. Mm-hmm. We're having a retention issue here, or we have a call center problem, or they start thinking from a channel perspective. If you dig, in a little bit, you start realizing it may not be a channel problem, it may be a data problem or an integration problem. We may not have a single view of our customer and kind of a customer platform, or we transactionally collect some of the data here and some of it there, and the only time those 2 data sets ever combine is in like long tail reporting and analytics type stuff, not real time from a customer perspective or an associate perspective. So it almost always starts, Matt, with, hey, we have a problem over here. And like going to the doctor, you try and diagnose and say, well, does it hurt here too? Wait, what about this? And so we spend a lot of time just asking those simple questions, trying to get to the root cause, because many times it surfaces in one aspect of the business. So 1, we really try to get to the root cause of the problem. Mm-hmm. 2, I mentioned it a second ago, we really try to think like the customer or the associate or the patient, or keep going. Try and walk through that process or flow in their shoes or from their perspective. Go be a patient. Oh, please don't go get sick, but like check in. Yeah. See what it's like. Why do you have to fill out forms every desk you go to? Why can't you have a digital passport that you can scan and just say, oh, I filled all this out before? So I think, trying to get to the root cause and trying to walk from that user's perspective in their shoes is usually those two things meet in the middle, and you start figuring out, hey, here are our friction points, here's how we can streamline those friction points, and here are the technologies we need to actually solve for this.
Well, I always like to end these by asking our experts to look ahead at the future a little bit. So I'm curious, your point, what are you excited to see coming around, omnichannel, unified commerce, just digital strategy in general? Is it AI stuff? Is it data stuff, integration stuff, new and emerging platform? There's a lot out there that always is changing. That's one of the reasons I like the space. But what are you looking forward to seeing?
Gosh, that's a fun one. ChatGPT solves everything. That's the end. No, I'm teasing.
This whole thing is a simulation of ChatGPT, Midjourney, and all those tools.
I just fed a few words in, and these sentences are coming out.
It seems like we're speaking.
I do think from an AI and automation perspective, there's a tremendous amount of automation that's being deployed to solve for better experiences. Labor costs are high. Employment is still a struggle for many organizations to find the right type of talent. And I think with labor costs being high, insurance costs being high, and employment costs being high in general, we've kind of reached a tipping point to where companies are starting to investigate automation rather than continuing to add people. Now, do I think ChatGPT is going to go replace employees and all of those things? No, I really don't, not for quite some time. But I do see computer vision starting to aid kitchens on when to start prepping food sooner or how to minimize food cost. I do see some of those types of AI-driven or machine learning models starting to assist employees, which maybe I don't need a second employee to solve for that. So we're starting to see that tipping point of where automation cost is coming down, computer vision models and other technologies are coming down enough that companies are starting to explore technology versus just adding another person.
Yeah, that's exciting to see. And I know that the AI stuff that's out there, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to replace a bunch of jobs. I think it should give us the opportunity to focus on the higher value, better things that we can contribute in our work lives and then really in our human lives too, right? So we'll be able to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Always fun to talk to you, Charlie. Great hanging out. Thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate it, Matt. Always good to see you.
You too. And thank you for being with us today. Another great WWT Experts session. We've got lots more coming up in the future, a great back catalog for you to check out. Head over to wwt.com/events, and you can find all that content. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.